and welcome to She Thinks, a podcast where you're allowed to think for yourself. I'm your host, Beverly Hallberg, and on today's episode, St. Mary's College students Macy, Gunnell, and Claire Bettag join us to talk about how they successfully fought back against their all-female college's attempts to admit males who identify as women. Due to their efforts, as well as the efforts of donors and alum, the school reversed its male-inclusive admissions policy, preserving St. Mary's as the last female-only Catholic college in the U.S. As we bring them on, let me give you a little bit more background on these two women. Claire Bettag is a junior at St. Mary's College, and she is from St. Charles, Illinois, and she's majoring in business administration with a marketing concentration. She is the president of both the College Republicans and Turning Point USA chapters, and she fosters open dialogue and advocates for conservative principles. Macy Gunnell is an undergraduate sophomore studying economics and political science. She is the vice president of both Turning Point USA and College Republicans, the chapters at St. Mary's, and has been featured in large media outlets such as the Wall Street Journal, Fox News, and more. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thanks so much for having us.
So I'm excited to get into the story about how you actually got your college to reverse their policy to admit males identifying as women into your female-only college. But I just want to start with a basic question, which is, why did you decide to attend a female-only college?
Yeah, so obviously both of us came, I feel like I can speak for not just both of us, but many students here. We come for the aspect of obviously the religious institution, and we come for the aspect that it's an all-women's college. Obviously, you know, for anyone who doesn't know here, this is St. Mary's. We are an all-women's Catholic private institution. So students here, like me, come looking for a religious aspect. We're looking for also a community that's going to foster and care for its women, and it's going to empower them, which is why this situation has been so upsetting for me personally. Claire can answer that as well.
Yeah, I completely agree with Macy. I think that I decided to come to St. Mary's because it was, as she said, Catholic and all women's. And I went to a Catholic all-girls high school, and they have tons of statistics that show the female empowerment rates are so much higher, and the confidence rates are so much higher within these single-sex schools. And I always loved that aspect of it. So when I came to St. Mary's to visit for the first time, I felt right at home, and I felt that it was, you know, the place that I was supposed to be.
And I think it's shocking that St. Mary's College is the nation's last women-only Catholic university. So of the 8 Catholic women colleges in the United States, 7 have allowed males who identify as women to attend. Were you aware that other women-only Catholic colleges were allowing men to attend when you chose to attend St. Mary's?
No, I was not aware of this, and I definitely would not have come to St. Mary's if I was aware of this in the beginning. And knowing that St. Mary's was going to go through with this is very concerning, because it was definitely a complete scam, or would have been a complete scam. I would have felt like I was going to be robbed of my entire college career, because I'm a junior at this point. And I think that at this point it's too late to transfer. So yeah, I was not aware of this, and I didn't think that St. Mary's would ever go down this route, especially because it's Catholic and they should be upholding their Catholic values at all times.
Definitely. And I'll branch off that as well. I mean, for St. Mary's to call themselves a Catholic women's college with this policy in place, it would make absolutely no sense. I mean, that is just a class action lawsuit waiting to happen for fraudulent misrepresentation. It would make no sense to be able to call themselves a women's college if they're an institution who doesn't even know what a woman is.
And we're used to this type of erasure of sex-specific spaces in the secular world. Of course, Leah Thomas, the male identified as a female who competed in swimming in college. There's also the Daughters of the American Revolution, who are now accepting male applicants. But I think what's surprising is that this is a Catholic college. What do you make of gender ideology entering the religious sector? And doesn't this go against Catholic teaching?
Yes, so obviously, I mean, the secular argument should be enough, but the religious argument is just as strong, if not stronger here, especially with our Catholic institution. I mean, we're taught very simply and plainly that God created male and female, Genesis 1:27. So we're hoping that a Catholic institution like St. Mary's would be able to uphold this extremely basic biological teaching, which is insane because, as we've seen, they obviously do not uphold that. And it's also not just this policy, but we've seen that there's been so much corruption within their upholding of Catholic values here as well. So a lot has been uncovered. There's a lot more that is being uncovered, but we've seen very much how they as a Catholic institution are not standing up for very basic Catholic values that we come to this institution for.
Yeah, and I think it's also very disappointing because even the president of the college, President Katie Conboy, states that her reasoning for considering this new policy perfectly aligns with the Bible and the Catholic Church's teaching. And I think it's very interesting because she thinks that she can interpret the Catholic teaching into her own way and her own perception. But obviously, traditional valued students like Macy and I do not believe this to be the truth. We're very biblical, and we like to follow God's truth because there only is one truth. It's not, her truth, and Katie Conboy's truth, but there's one truth, and it's God's truth. And it's very unfortunate that the Bible's teachings are being skewed into different places at this time.
Yeah, a whole lot of relativism going on with all of this. I want to talk about how you found out about this policy, because it wasn't something that they were shouting loud and proud that there had been this policy change. How did you find out? And was this supposed to be undercover and hidden?
Yes, so this is actually a pretty interesting story. This policy was created and ratified in June of 2023, set to actually take place in their admissions policies starting in this next 2024 year. So this was ratified in June. However, it didn't actually come out until November when I was working in the admissions office. I used to be an admissions ambassador with the school, and I was working, and I overheard talk of the new admissions policy. So long story short, this is something that they have been hiding, and they were planning to hide for a while. They had zero plans as to how to implement it. All they wanted to do was just implement this woke policy because they believed it was their path of love and inclusion. And so I found out, I immediately went to Claire because I knew that she was someone who stood up for, very basic American conservative values. So I went to her, and then we took to friends, family, supporters. And the next thing you know, we have an army of almost, thousands of people across the nation. We were on Fox News about it, and it became a pretty big deal, which is good because they wanted this to be something that would go and pass very quietly, but this is something we cannot, as Americans in these woke institutions, we cannot let them slide by, so easily.
Yeah, and so you had the public presence of this, like you were saying, going on Fox News and getting so many other people who were supporters of you. What were some of the specific actions that you took when it came to the administration and trying to put pressure on them to change this?
Yeah, so as we said, the first thing that we did was, as I said earlier, I'm president of the Turning Point USA, unofficially recognized chapter on campus. And as soon as Macy came to me, I was like, okay, obviously nobody knows about this because everybody would be freaking out. So the first thing that we did was we took it to social media. We didn't really have that big of a following at the time, definitely like less than 100. But as soon as we posted it and exposed it, it completely blew up from there. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments of people ripping each other to shreds and fighting in the comment section saying that this is either right or wrong. And from there, obviously we got more media attention on this. And that's how it kind of took off. And after that, Macy and I decided that we should probably have a meeting with the president and vice president of the college, because if we're not willing to voice our opinions to them, how are they going to know what we're thinking? We didn't want them to think that we were just, attacking them on social media, but we wanted to explain our reasonings for not supporting this policy. So we had a meeting with President Conboy and Vice President Lori Johnson and expressed to them several instances of concerns of potential sexual harassment cases and unfairness in sports, and simply the biological differences in between men and women. And if I could just tell you the look on Vice President Lori Johnson's face when I said that a biological man is not the same thing as a biological woman, she was completely shocked and disgusted. And I could just tell that she was thinking that I was sexist and homophobic, transphobic. But we explained to her, both of them, all of these things, and they didn't really understand where we were coming from. But it must have done something, because they did reverse the policy in the end. So.
And with this, did you find any other faculty, teachers, any other administrators who came up to you privately and thanked you for what you're doing? And what about the students on campus?
Yeah, so that's been a very interesting situation here on campus, because obviously, this has been a pretty big thing in the media, but something that people don't know as much of is what everything has been like here on campus with students and faculty. So we're at a liberal arts college, so I would say the majority of campus here is very left-leaning. So as you can imagine, Claire and I are public enemy number 1 and 2. Everyone hates us for standing up for women. But there have been a lot of really amazing people we have met. There are faculty here who still work to uphold the basic Catholic teachings and, basic biological factors of being a woman. We've been able to get connected with a lot of students as well. We formed a really strong group of strong young women who, surely they know what a woman is and they're working to fight for that as well. So although we are what I feel like is the minority on campus, I mean, we are the loud minority, and we're not going to let any of these people bully us into submission. They're going to keep name calling us. They're going to keep doing everything they can to try to silence us, but that's something we're not going to let slide by easily. And that's something that we hope we can inspire other students to not, be bullied into submission in this topic as well.
Well, obviously you were very brave and bold in moving forward with this, not just posting on social media, but actually facing the administration of your college. Were you afraid of discrimination? Were you afraid of harassment? And if not, what made you bold enough to do this?
Yeah, well, it honestly all started for me last year when I was trying to start the Turning Point USA chapter. I remember talking to my parents and saying that I feel like there's not really like even representation on campus between the conservative and liberal values. And I felt that, especially at a Catholic school, we should really have some sort of group or organization that will represent our Republican conservative values. So that's exactly why I started our Turning Point chapter, which I'm very grateful, obviously, as to why we did it. But I knew that it would come with some repercussion. And I would be facing discrimination on campus. And of course, at first, I was really, really nervous about this whole thing. But to me now, I feel like it just got to a certain point where I was like, I really don't care anymore. At the end of the day, the only person that we should be concerned about judging us is Christ. So that's kind of like the way like I've shifted my mindset is, I'm going to graduate next year. I'm really never going to see these people ever again. So while during my time here at St. Mary's, I feel called to, fight for our conservative voices, especially for the students who, aren't so willing to stand up and fight the fight.
Yeah. So if I can add there as well, I mean, for us, we've learned as conservatives politically that when we start getting all these names, when we start getting called, hateful, transphobic, bigoted, all those words, once you start hearing those names, that's how we know that we're doing something right, because that's all that they have. That's all that the left can do is name call. They have no solid argument against this. So, I mean, while it did take a lot of courage to stand up, feeling like, we're the minority on campus in this situation, it's been so rewarding, and, it's something that we're not going to stop doing.
And I'm assuming that you have a lot more than just 100 followers on your social media accounts now, correct?
Yes, definitely.
So I want to talk about the reversal just a little bit. When this reversal happened, was that done under the rug as well, or was there an announcement?
There was an announcement, yeah. So it was in the middle of winter break. It was December, I believe, 23rd or something along those lines. Everyone was home, but they sent out an email to the college community. It was a very weak apology in a way, where they said, we implemented this policy with hopes of love and inclusion. And, they gaslit us and said that, some people didn't share our mission of love and inclusivity. And then they said that, due to all of the trust that we've lost with the community, we're going to reverse the policy. So luckily they did own up to that. Again, it was a very weak apology and it was a very weak reversal. We've also found out that this is not endgame for them. They are hoping to further implement this down the road through education, as they called it. They've been working to hold listening sessions. They've been working to get more voices from people, and they're through these listening sessions, they're very much skewing everyone's opinions, and they're very much trying to almost brainwash us again into submission. So, I mean, they're very set on having this very woke policy implemented. So, I mean, it did get reversed, but the fight's not over.
And you talked about the political makeup of the student body. Do you find that there are even liberal women that you attend college with who have come up to you and say, thank you for standing up for women? Because it really shouldn't be a liberal versus conservative on this type of issues. It's making sure that women's spaces can be women. Do you find that there are those liberal women who agree with you?
Yeah, I mean, as Macy was saying earlier, we have a massive Facebook group with hundreds and hundreds of members of the St. Mary's College community. And this group makes up many, many positions within the political spectrum. It's definitely not just the conservative voices. And I was actually just talking to Macy about this earlier. I even had some like liberal girl come up to me in the dining hall and say like, hey, Claire, like, you don't know me, but although I completely disagree with every single one of your viewpoints, I really respect that you have strong beliefs in this cause, and you're willing to stand up and fight the fight with Macy, and you're not willing to back down. I really respect that, and I think that's a beautiful thing. And I was saying, like, if every single liberal or person who disagreed with our stance on this issue could treat it like that, with that mindset, imagine how bridged the country would be. It would not be as divided as it is today. So I really respected that and appreciated her saying that.
And so I was hoping to get a little bit of a blueprint from you all, just very quickly, what you would encourage somebody else to do, whether this is on their college campus or at their work or in sports. Fill in the blank of a female-only space where men want to be part of it. I know you started with social media, then you talked to the administration, but what would you say to other women who are concerned about their female-only space being infiltrated by men? What was the magic sauce for you all to get this reversed?
Yes, definitely. So something I've been very stressful about something I've been stressing a lot with reporters in the media and all that, is that in the end, truth and faith always wins. They cannot deny basic facts. They cannot deny basic biology. And they also cannot deny the power of, what in essence is the voice of very small people. I mean, we were just students here, and, in essence, we had no say. We had no effect on the situation, but we didn't let that stop us. We did not let that silence us into submission. We stood up, we stood out, we were loud and proud about it. And that's something that we are really hoping to inspire more students across the nation to do, is because unfortunately, this is not just St. Mary's. I mean, we're seeing this in Harvard, we're seeing this in MIT, all these very woke institutions. Education is being ruined by modern woke DEI ideologies. So we really think that this is something that we need more students involved in. And we believe that the voices of current students are very, very powerful, because we as young Americans, I feel like are creating the future, and we are in charge of what the next generation of America is going to be like. So we need to make that what we want it to be. And we definitely want that to be, a future and a lifestyle based on fact, and one that holds, people accountable for standing up for basic biological facts. So again, we've been very involved in outreach for this. We've been trying to get involved with many groups just to inspire many students as possible. We actually just started a podcast yesterday. So
what is the name?
Cancel 38. The Cancel 38 podcast. We're calling it Cancel 38 because we're in room 38, and that's what people are going to want to do. They're going to want to cancel the girls 38. But that's not going to happen. We're not going to let them, whatever that even means. So again, we're just hoping to reach many more students and show people that victory is possible. You just got to work for it, and you got to stand up for truth and faith.
I also just want to add on that really quick, if I can. I think that it's the number one thing also is to increase the dialogue on campus. I think that is huge, because most of the time the girls from the other side of the spectrum aren't willing to talk to us about these issues. And I think that, like, how are we supposed to really understand each other's perspectives and understand where they're coming from if we're not really willing to talk about this? It's always girls attacking each other and just being so awful and nasty. But if we could just sit down and have a one-on-one conversation and explain, hey, here's where I'm coming from, I think that would solve like 90% of our issues.
Yes. When people stop fighting, that's when violence happens. That's when radical movements happen. So our nation is built on, freedom of speech. It's built on democracy. It's built on different ideas. And we really need to foster that as young Americans and work towards creating a future of acceptance of all ideologies and really just teamwork, whether or not we agree.
And final question for whoever would like to answer this, one or both of you. I assume that what you've learned in the past year is not what you expected to learn when you went to college. Do you think that the lessons that you've learned in fighting back, they're lessons you're going to take with you in whatever your career, whatever your future is?
Yeah, my parents actually didn't want me to come to St. Mary's because they knew that it was a very woke, left-leaning school. And I really wanted to come here. So I convinced them, because they were really nervous that I was going to come out, very liberal and turn away from my Catholic values. But if anything, this has made me such a strong woman, and it's really pushed me towards my faith and towards my Catholic values. So I would say this definitely has allowed me to grow so much. It's given me so much more confidence, and my communication skills have honestly like increased by a million because, you know, I'm just so much more willing to talk about these uncomfortable topics.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll jump off that as well. I mean, my parents also did not want me to come here, but I'm here. You know, God puts people in places that they're meant to be in. But most importantly, I mean, this has really just taught us the value of standing up for what you believe in and the value of communication and hard work. So this is something while, you know, it's been a very hard fight. It's been tough. And again, it's not over. I'm very, very grateful because it's gotten us together with so many amazing people. It's taught us so many amazing lessons that we're definitely going to take with us throughout the rest of our lives. And, you know, Claire and I do feel like this is kind of our calling in life. We do feel like that it's important for young Americans like us to stand up for our basic foundations. So that's something we're going to continue to do. And we hope that more students can get involved into that as well.
Well, absolutely. I think it's encouraging for those who are older than you are like myself, where we find it encouraging when we hear young people who are speaking up and speaking about their values boldly. So I know many of our listeners are encouraged by you. I just wanted to thank you for what you've done, also for sharing your story. Macy Gunnell and Claire Bettag, host of the new podcast called, what's it called again?
Cancel 38.
Cancel 38. Go check it out. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you
so much.
Us.
And thank you all for joining us as well. Before you go, IWF does want you to know that we rely on the generosity of supporters like you. An investment in IWF fuels our efforts to enhance freedom, opportunity, and well-being for all Americans. So please consider making a small donation to IWF by visiting iwf.org/donate. That's iwf.org/donate. Last, if you enjoyed this episode of She Thinks, do leave us a rating or a review. It does help, and we love it if you share this episode so your friends can know where they can find more She Thinks. From all of us here at IWF, thanks for watching.